Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening as we welcome in our holy day of rest. Myself and Rabbi Molly, we are getting ready to welcome the Sabbath in our own sanctuaries, so to speak, and we'll be praying with you tonight and trying to create a sense of calm and joy as we head into our 24 hours of rest.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Maya Vehayom. Shabbat Shalom. Maya Vehayom. Shabbat Shalom. This Shabbat, we're officially welcoming in the month of Elul, the month leading us up to the High Holy Days. So as we read through this next Shabbat meditation, which starts with where has this week vanished, we can also think more broadly about our year, what a year this has been, where we were last August, and not just about this past week, but beginning that work of reflecting on ourselves as we lead up to the High Holy Days. Where has this week vanished? Is it lost forever? Will I ever recover anything from it? The joy of life, the unexpected victory, the realized hope, the task accomplished? Will I ever be able to banish the memory of pain, the sting of defeat, the heaviness of boredom? On this day, let me keep for a while what must drift away. On this day, let me be free of the burdens that must return. On this day, Shabbat, abide. Help me to withdraw for a while from the flight of time, contain the retreat of the hours and days from the grasp of frantic life. Let me learn to pause, if only for this day. Let me find peace on this day. Let me enter into a quiet world this day. On this day, Shabbat, abide. Lecha Dodi Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Hayom, Yimelech Malachei Hamachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Malachim L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Baruch Hu.
So if you're gathered around your table right now at your home and you have your Shabbat candles ready and your wine and your challah ready to bless, please get those out and ready, and we will do our blessings all together. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. And go ahead and fill up your cup. We actually are supposed to fill our glasses to overflowing on Shabbat to sort of represent our cup runneth overing. So go ahead and put as much wine in there as you would like for your Shabbat joy. And please sing the blessing with me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'avav ratzon inchilanu zikaron lemaseh v'reshit ki hu yom techila lemikrei kodesh zecher letziat mitzrayim kivanu v'charta v'yotanu kidashta mikol hamim ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. לחיים. And my signature goldfish crackers for the motzi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'te'avon.
Hello. Now that we've welcomed in Shabbat with our Kabbalat Shabbat service and our blessings, we continue with the Ma'ariv part of our service, the blessings surrounding Shema, starting with Baruch Hu, our call to worship, our call to be present. So if you are able, please rise and we'll join together. We move now into Ma'ariv Aravim, our roll into dark prayer, noting the changing of seasons. And as we enter Elul, I don't know about you, but I've noticed all of a sudden that it's just getting dark earlier. It sort of hit me, and when I wake up, it's not quite as bright as it was before. So, taking the time to notice those changes and appreciate them. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Go lay on the light, go lay on me, Mishpati Otanu Limadeta Otanu Limadeta Alkein Adonai Eloheinu B'Shochenu V'Kneinu Nasi Avdechu Kacha V'Nismach B'Divrei Toratecha U'Mitzvotecha Le'olam Ki Hem Hayenu V'Yorech Yameinu Uvaham Neke Yomam V'Layla Neke Yomam V'Layla Ve'ahavatcha Tasir Mimenu Le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael Ohev Amo Yisrael Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ad.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ושוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם להוד על ידך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים אלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
After singing, joining together in our prayer, offering gratitude for the gift of Torah and that relationship that the Torah represents, a committed relationship between the Jewish people and God. And then we join together in Shema Ve'ahavta. Ve'ahavta kind of reminds us of the importance of continuing to teach Torah and to keep it in our midst. And the Ve'ahavta prayer comes from the Torah. It's it's a symbolic point to have Torah text in there. So we've been thinking a lot about how some people might really just miss seeing the Torah, the actual Torah scroll. And so tomorrow at our Shabbat morning service at 10:30, we are going to actually use a Torah scroll, and Molly Launer will be chanting a little bit of Torah for us. So you may not have even realized that you missed it until I just mentioned it. So if you are like, oh yeah, I do kind of miss the Torah, then you should join us tomorrow at 10:30. We'll move now to Michamocha. Go ahead, Rosie.
And what is my lifespan? I'm like one gone out of Egypt. The Red Sea parts. I cross on dry land. 2 walls of water on my right and on my left. Pharaoh's army and his horsemen behind me. Before me the desert. Perhaps the promised land too. That is my lifespan.
Here's a little song I wrote. I want to sing it note for note. Don't worry. Be happy. Here's a little song I wrote. I want to sing it note for note. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Shalom Hamidenu Shomrenu Shomrenu Lechaim Frosalenu Sukkot Sukkot Shlomecha. I'm going to continue with the Amidah. We've been doing silent Amidah a lot lately, so tonight we're going to use the traditional words of our Amidah together. So we'll go through the Amidah and then we'll have a little bit of time for silent prayer and reflection. So if you are able, please arise and we'll join together. Open my eyes to truth. Open my hands to give freely. Open my lips to good words, to pure words. Open my heart to love. Open my eyes to truth. Open my hands to give freely. Open my lips to good words, to pure words. Open my heart to love. Adonai spatati ta, fiaki tequila tekana. Open my lips to good words, to pure words. Open my heart to love. Adonai spatati ta, fiaki tequila tekana. Open my lips to good words, to pure words. Open my heart to love. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hakadosh Hakipar v'Honora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Hastei Avot v'Imahot, U'mevi Geula Lifnei V'neihem, L'man Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham V'Ezrat Sarah, Atagi Borle Lamaranai, Mechaye HaKol Atah Rav Lehoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechakel Chaim Bechesed, Mechaye HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Sohamech Noflim Verofech Holim, Umatir Asurim, Umikayem Emunato Lishenei Afar, Micha Mocha B'Givarot, Umidam Eloch, Melech Lemit Umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman Atala Chayot HaKol, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mechaye HaKol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yihallelu chatzela. Baruch atah Adonai HaKadosh. Iyu leratso imefi veyomi bi lefanecha Adonai tzuri Adonai
So as we do every week, we're going to read the names of people in our community who are asking for the blessing of healing, of mind, body, or spirit. And really now more than ever, people in our community just need to know that they're being thought of, that they're being cared for, and that regardless of whatever they're dealing with, there's somebody out there who loves them. So as I read these names off tonight, I want you to just focus on the individuals that might need a little bit of extra love tonight, whether it's people in your own life or if you recognize someone on the list. Make sure that this weekend you spend some time giving them a little bit of extra love. So on this evening, this Shabbat evening, we pray together for Valentina Derchovsky, Azriel Early, Rohan Early, Tara Landry, Myra Masig, Patricia Shapiro, Orly Sherman, Amy Thornton, Deborah Newmans-Castangay, Lindsay Robinson, Laura Armstrong, John Levy, Stacy Hetzel, Diane Turner, Michael Sirkinpool, Jacqueline Tara Smith, Kalina Suzawa, Deborah Rose, Sid Rubin, Liliana Oxsmith, Hans Wheel, Sylvia Brown, Phil Grinker, Bill Marmion, Jeffrey Finn, Benjamin Dominitz, Terry Callett, and Pam Shane Johnson. We join together in our Mishaberach prayer, our prayer for healing and wholeness. Please sing with us.
Mishaberach Avotenu Mikor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishaberach Imotenu Mikor HaBracha Leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with the Fuash Shema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
This week in our Torah portion, Parashat Shoftim, we see words that are perhaps some of the best known in our entire Torah. The words are tzedek, tzedek, tirdof. And they translate typically as justice, justice, you shall pursue. But just like everything that is translated, it's a little bit more of an art than a science. And tzedek translated as justice, I think captures the general feeling of the word tzedek. But tirdof really falls short. The idea of pursuing something doesn't have the full weight that the writers of our Torah, that the rabbis intended it to have. You could say, I'm pursuing a degree in underwater basket weaving. It sounds kind of light, a little bit too fluffy. We know that this word in Hebrew means something much more intense, because in our Torah we read about the instance of the rodef, the pursuer. There's all kinds of halakha legal underpinnings to this idea of, if you've wronged someone, you might somehow inherit a rodef, a pursuer, a hunter, somebody who's going to track you down and find their own justice. Someone who burns with the fires of righteous indignation, who is going to come and find you. And so the rabbis of our Talmud, but also the writers of our Torah, talked about something called Ir Miklachat, cities of refuge, where somebody who is pursued or hunted by a rodef can go to, so that they will not have to face execution by someone without a fair trial. So now I want to step back and look at the phrase tzedek, tzedek, tirdof. Tirdof comes from the same root as rodef. We see that this doesn't mean simply pursuing, but it means like chase down with all your righteous indignation, with all of your passion. Pursue it, but not simply pursue it. Give your all to finding it. So tzedek, tzedek, tirdof doesn't simply mean justice, justice, you shall pursue. It means justice needs to be that burning fire within you that you are going to chase down regardless of what might be in your way. I had a really fantastic meeting with one of our B'nai Mitzvah students. I always find I learn the most from our young people when I study with them. And one of the things that we were studying from his Torah portion had to do with a very interesting verse in the Torah. Basically, his portion was the 10 Commandments, but there is an addition, or a further sort of extrapolation from the 10 verses that says, you shall not put a stumbling block before the blind. You shall not insult to death or put a stumbling block before the blind. And I asked him, can you think of any modern day instances where people metaphorically kind of put a stumbling block before the blind? And he thought about it, and he didn't really have an answer. Not because he didn't know. He's a very smart kid. But finally he said, but who would do that? Who would do something like that? And I had at least one example that I could give him. And I talked about predatory lending, about how often poor people, because they don't have credit and because they are so desperate for cash, because they're often living paycheck to paycheck, will go to these check cashing places or take out loans with exorbitant interest, or credit cards that no one in their right mind should really take, but because they're desperate to put food on the table or take care of their children, they are taken advantage of. After that conversation with him, and of course he was appalled by that idea, but after that conversation with him, I thought a lot about what we're facing right now with COVID-19. And so much of what we see is putting a stumbling block before the blind. We are taking advantage of people's disadvantage. I know that many of you have been keeping up with the news, and we've been reading about communities of color and minority communities and how they're being disproportionately affected by the virus. And one of the things that I hadn't really fully occurred to me before is most middle to upper class folks are working from home and able to fully shelter in place. Most essential workers are people of color and people who don't have the economic means to work from home. And adding to that, the stumbling block that we're putting before them is the inaccessibility to healthcare and some of the institutional racism that we see around the country that is actually keeping those essential workers from seeking the care they need. I thought of another stumbling block, which has to do with voter suppression. As we approach the election in November, we are looking at politicians who are saying that they do not want mail-in voting because whenever the turnout is lower, usually their party is favored. With COVID-19 right now, that is a stumbling block to voting. Forcing people to be there in person and exposing themselves to a virus is a stumbling block before the blind. And so I think our Parsha this week is really calling us not just to simply pursue justice, but to chase it down, to do it with the fire of our being and make sure that these folks who are at a horrible disadvantage, whether it's that they're disenfranchised from voting at the polls this year, or they are disenfranchised from seeking health care with COVID, we need to make sure that we are doing everything within our power to make sure that we are removing those stumbling blocks. So part of the way we remove those stumbling blocks is we make sure people have access to information, that they have access to healthcare, that they have access to the polls. And that change isn't going to happen overnight. But if we truly pursue, as the Hebrew would tell us, this form of justice, we can hope that within the near future, those folks who are horribly disadvantaged don't have people taking advantage of them. So as we go into the high holidays, we are going to start looking at these stumbling blocks, these things that our society puts in front of people to make them feel disenfranchised, to give them less access. This year, unlike any year before, we are going to have a theme for our high holidays to make you feel more empowered to do something about the injustice we see in our world today. So our theme this year is Rise Up, a call to your conscience. And all of the things that we are teaching and preaching this year will be around social action and social justice and racial equality. We have, if you want to pass by TBT, just drive by, we now have a Black Lives Matter banner up. We want people in the neighborhood to know that that is a deeply held value within our congregation. And if you want to teach or learn this coming high holidays about racial inequality or systemic racism or ableism or any of the number of things that disenfranchise folks, please contact us. There's going to be so much opportunity to both teach and learn, and we're going to find a way shortly after the holidays to put all of those great ideas and that learning into action. We may be stuck at home, many of us, but it doesn't mean that we have to stop pursuing justice in all the different means that are available to us now. So we hope you join us these holidays to really tzedek tirdov, to really pursue justice in the most Jewish sense possible. I wanted to add a couple of announcements before we head into the conclusion of our service tonight. At 7:45 this evening, Amy McGinnis is going to be leading her special program on Elul, on the month of Elul, which is studying and looking at Psalm 27, trying to prepare us for these days of awe as they come upon us. So I'm told by Amy that it's not too late to register, even last minute, if you just email her. Her email is in the weekly newsletter, so just search for that and give Amy a quick buzz, and she will be able to let you into that group tonight. We also have a wonderful program, a subscription program from the Jewish Emergent Network, about 30 days, the month of Elul, spending 30 days to educate ourselves about anti-racism, how we can create more racial equality in our world from a Jewish perspective. And we'll be sending you out regular thought pieces and reminders of the month of Elul, so you can do your own personal practice and really get into the spirit of the high holidays this year. Additionally, I wanted to let everybody know that registration for our religious school is open. Rabbi Molly, you want to say a little bit more about that?
Sure. We are getting really excited to start religious school on October 4th, which is the second day of Sukkot. And we tried to make the registration super, super easy. It's a really easy form to fill out. And so just fill it out. It helps us, the sooner you fill it out, the more it helps us to plan and make sure we have enough teachers, enough fun curriculum. I've been talking with the teachers that do the chugim, the electives, on switching things up a little bit. So we'll make sure we have chugim, we have Hebrew, we're gonna have lots of other fun, engaging ways to learn together this year. So sign up. And
we have fun new pricing for our religious schools. So far more affordable for our families. And I think we had a successful dry run last year with our online learning, and it's going to be even better this year as we go forward in our season of COVID. We are still going to educate your young ones. So please be looking for the opportunity to register on our website and also in our e-newsletter.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know this, but we actually have a special program, I guess, I don't know what else to call it, that for families with kids who are second grade or younger, we give, I believe it's free membership for the first year while, when you sign your kids up for religious school. So if you know families, if you are a young family that has not yet joined, or if you know young families who are on the fence, tell them about that, encourage them to try it out. A lot of people this year are thinking, and I totally get this, like my kids are zoomed out, we're just gonna take this year off. But our religious school is so different from the weekday school. There's a lot of value in the weekday school, and the values and the driving forces behind our religious school are all about building community and helping our kids to be whole, healthy humans. And so that is important, and we are again trying to make it as engaging and fun as possible so that it doesn't feel like another Zoom thing.
And then I think the last thing that I want to note is that Rabbi Molly and myself, Rabbi Molly did this before I did, but we're getting trained as PEPS facilitators. So if you are pregnant or have a very young child before the age of 2, I think we're going to sort of max out at 2, maybe 3. Both Rabbi Molly and myself she's gotten trained, I'm going to be trained to do a professional early parenting support group. So if you have a really little one, or you're pregnant or you have a friend with a little one, please be on the lookout. We're going to start registering folks to do some online parenting support, because especially for first-time parents, it's a rough ride. Rabbi Molly and I both know that. So we're really excited to be able to give some parental new parent wisdom and also some Jewish wisdom to our families as they welcome a little one. All right, so we're going to go back to our Siddur and finish out praying with you tonight. And if you're able, please rise for Aleinu. Aleinu l'shamech adon hakol, לתת גאולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שמחלקנו ליחם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. On this Shabbat evening, we say Kaddish Yatom, our mourner's Kaddish, in memory of the recent loss of Susan Finn Dryden, cousin of Jeff and Mary Lynn Finn, and also second cousin of Karen Rosenberg. We also remember the yahrzeit, the anniversary of the deaths of Diane Adams, Victoria Franco Almale, Dr. Robert Bonifaci, Vera Diner, Henry Gerstmann, Jack Jerome Goldberg, Jay Goldberg, Edmund Goldstein, Eric Harris, Milton C. Hecht, Louis Jacobson, Donald R. Jacobson, Barbara Kranzler, Alan Kulikovsky, Sarah Rohr, Paul Cerule, and Boris Tokar. We rise now in solidarity with all those in our community who are in mourning and say in ancient words, Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach yortei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayachon u'vyomachon u'chayei dechol beit Israel, ba'gala u'mizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olamei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnatzeh, v'yithadar v'yithaleh v'yitalal Shmei de Kudasha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, shush bechata v'nechamata, ve'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Israel v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Israel v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say, Amen.
Before we finish with our closing prayer for peace, I just want to add one thing. that I forgot to mention earlier, which is that as we're gearing up for the high holidays, we know that sometimes on Zoom or however you're watching through Facebook, YouTube, however you're engaging with us, there can sometimes be things that might drive you crazy. And so the only way we know that you're experiencing something frustrating is if you tell us. And it turns out that sometimes it is something that we can try and fix, like how big our pictures are. And we're working on that. And sometimes it might be something that's actually a setting on your computer. And so we can help you figure that out. So for example, we know some people have some closed captioning showing up, which is not something that we're putting out there, but it's a setting on your computers or your Facebook or something like that. So in the next few weeks, we want our High Holy Day experience to be as to allow you to be like as engaged as possible and not be distracted by certain things. And so in the coming weeks, if you notice on Shabbat, like, why is it doing this thing, or I can't get this to work, or I can't hear, or whatever, please let us know so that if it's something on our end, we can work to fix it. And if it's something on your end, we can help you fix it on your end.
Can I make one more quick plug?
Yeah.
So we know that for many people, they may not be tuning in regularly for Shabbat services, and so they may not be using Zoom on a regular basis, or even, going to our website and live streaming from YouTube or Facebook or Twitch. But we want you to know that we are there for you. We are planning 2 sessions where you can sort of learn all the how-tos of how to enjoy these high holidays despite what could be technical difficulties. And if you would like to have more information of that, we're going to be posting it on our website, but also your high holiday packets are supposed to drop sometime, I think, the first week of September. And there's information on how you register for one of those Zoom classes so that you can learn how you can make the most of these high holidays between our classes and our services online. We're going to have a really innovative virtual tashlich. We're going to have live interactive sessions with our young families. So we want to make sure you can really make the most of it. So if you're thinking you need just a little bit of a tech refresh, please be on the lookout for those classes as well.
Thank you. All right, let's join together. Odivo shalom aleinu. Odivo shalom aleinu. Odivo shalom aleinu ve'avodah. Odivo shalom aleinu. Odivo shalom aleinu. Odivo shalom aleinu ve'avodah. Salam aleinu ve'al kolam. Salam, salam, salam. Shalom aleinu, Odivo shalom aleinu, Odivo shalom aleinu, Odivo shalom aleinu, Odivo shalom aleinu,
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Happy month of Elul. If you are staying on for Amy McGinnis at 7:45, there's a separate link. But we hope you enjoy your Shabbat and get ready for the high holidays with the month of Elul. Thank you all so much. Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.